Wonderful. And you are welcome to the Basis series. My name is Miles. I'm from England. And I've been interviewing a number of super soldiers. And I'm very interested to hear your story. And you are?
My name's Alara.
Alara.
I was in the Marine Corps. And I was only in for a very brief period of time. I've always lived next to a military intelligence base. It was in Monterey, California, so I was also near Fort Ord and the Naval Postgraduate School. So I grew up around a lot of military people and was actually friends with a lot of them through most of my high school anyways. And when I was younger, I've always kind of been aware of things. I've always been sensitive. I've always been able to tell my parents like how they were feeling and things like that. And when I got into high school, I started looking more into it and started looking into things like remote viewing and astral projection and telepathy and things like that. It just became really super interesting for me because I was trying to find some sort of answer to what I could already do naturally. So I started remote viewing my friends for fun. If I'd get grounded, I'd go remote view my friends, and the next day I'd tell them, you know, hey.
When you were grounded, were you an independent thinking bad girl at school?
No, I would sometimes just spend hanging out. I'd be like hanging out, and I'd just forget to tell my mom where I was. And she, of course, was just worried. I mean, she was really like, I didn't get in trouble ever. I was never in trouble for anything. But some days she's like, no, you're just not allowed to go. And I'm like, okay, well, fine. Like, if I can't go, then so be it.
That's called parents making boundaries.
Yeah, which was great. I loved it. But being me, I always wanted to be out with my friends or doing things like that, so I figured that was just a fun way to do it. I'd be like, oh, were you wearing like a blue shirt and this? And they'd be like, oh, I was. And I was like, okay, cool. So that was fun. And I actually had no interest in joining the military at all until I was my senior year of high school. And then all of a sudden I just like, I'm joining the military. The first branch that calls me, I'll take the ASVAB, and I did great on that. If they call me, I'll go. And they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be a linguist. I want to come back here. And I took the tests. I did really well. They said, fine, you can go. And I went to Parris Island to go train. I actually spent 6 months on Parris Island because I dislocated my shoulder.
Which shoulder?
My left shoulder.
Yeah, okay.
And then I started, now that I think back and look on it, I can see where there's discrepancies in my training above other people. There's another girl with me.
Yeah, the left shoulder is an issue. Did you have any neck issues?
Yeah, I have a lot of neck issues. I also have, I had a lot of lower spine issues as well. And I started looking back at my time on Parris Island. There's a girl with me who was also doing the same thing I was, same exact job, same exact language. I was getting pulled away from my training platoon to go do intelligence, like classified intelligence background checks and things like that. I have no idea.
This is at the start of your training?
Yeah, this is in boot camp. I have no idea what I was doing. I actually cannot even think about that. I know they came to me and said, you need to go fill out this paperwork. I have no idea what happened between then and when I got back to my platoon. No memories.
Can you recall more about how that actually happened? Think about that, those days.
I just know that I was doing other things and then going back to my platoon. Even to the point that usually all of our civilian clothes are taken away when we start training. Somehow it worked out that I didn't have to give those clothes back. So I actually had an entire stack of civilian clothes I could take out of my locker and put on and leave if I needed to. And once again, I'm missing memory. I miss time.
What do you mean when you needed to?
Well, I think once they would call me out and say, hey, you need to come join us over here, just throw on your civilian stuff and come meet us outside. But that's in theory. I have no hard memories of that. I can't.
Have you thought of trying to remember a bit more about that?
I've been wanting to go under hypnosis to see, but because I
don't think you need to go under hypnosis.
It's rough. I don't know. I'm so used to being under, like that's how they worked with me, was being under hypnosis and under trance all the time with drugs.
Who was giving you that? When did it start?
That started when I was in boot camp. They were I was not given certain vaccines. Actually, every vaccine that other people got, I didn't get 4 or 5 of those. And I was given other ones. And then they kind of just let me go. I got to go do my thing and go train. And when I got back to the language, Defense Language Institute, and started training there, I'm pretty sure there's weekends there that I don't remember. And
what sort of languages were you looking for?
I was learning Arabic, and I was really good at it, but as soon as I was there, I started having trouble because of my memory loss, and it started giving me anxiety, and I started like kind of freaking out.
Can you remember what kind of Arabic? Is there different levels? What is Arabic to somebody who doesn't know what it is?
It's the Arabic language. There's a standard that they use, which is just what they use in the newscast, and that's what they train linguists to listen to. Then we start learning dialects after that. I didn't even get to the dialect part. I was only in for 2 years, and I got out just because I started getting really bad neck pains, really bad shoulder pains, and I started to kind of just lose sense of what day it was. I couldn't tell what was going on. I couldn't tell if I was awake or asleep. And a lot of the times my training would happen while I was sleeping. I would have...
What do you mean while you were sleeping?
Well, I'd go to bed at night, and then it would look like military people walking through my wall, and they'd come and they'd pick me up, and I'd see my body laying there, and they go, "You need to come with us. We need to show you what it is you need to do." And a lot of my training happened in that way, so there was no proof. Like I couldn't say.
What did they show you? What was involved there?
I would go to different countries.
Which ones?
Mostly Russia. And
which part of Russia?
I don't know.
Cold part, warm part.
It was somewhere along, I guess, where Russia meets Europe, like that. That there's a like strip of area. I can't pinpoint.
That would be northwestern.
Yeah, the north. Yeah, the north. Oh, it's all over I was all over the place, actually.
And this was all when you were asleep. That was your training.
And that's why it's really hard for me to kind of recall these things, even though I know I could, like details. I sit like my.
Well, why don't you just try now? Relax. It's a sunny day.
Mostly be government officials first, where I'd go.
What kind of government? Russian?
Yeah, it was Russian, European, Eastern Bloc.
Now, what do you mean by European? I mean, are you talking Brit, French, German?
No, we stayed
Italian?
away from them. We stayed away, even from Germany, it was more, I want to just say Eastern European. I don't know the countries over there for some reason.
So
like,
this is when?
This was in 2000.
Oh, so it's clearly well after the Berlin
Oh, yeah.
Wall
But we still wanted information from them. And that's why I was kind of confused, like, why am I not looking at things like the Middle East? And they're like, don't worry about it, you're going to be sent over there. So I was like, oh, okay.
So you were taken by U.S. military to then go to Russia.
That's the only targets I can think of right now.
So you were remote
viewing, yeah.
Viewing. Or were you actually bilocating?
Probably bilocating. I've always seen remote viewing as my physical body standing there and being able to not interact, but being able to see things just as if I was there.
And can you action effect there, like lift something up?
I don't know. If I could, that'd be awesome, but
have you weren't able to do that?
Not that I know of, no. And then I did start working in battlefields, because then I started looking at battlefield stuff. They started teaching me how to look at battlefields and how to see our soldiers.
So how was that set up? Did they use real battlefields, or was
it was in progress, things that people, like, we have troops out there already, so they would just show me where our troops were.
In Russia?
No, it was in Russia. It was in the Middle East.
Okay.
Like when I was doing Russian stuff, it was just cars and people talking in cars and things like that, or like in buildings. I'd be standing in some building that I didn't know, some office building, or.
And what did you see in those buildings?
Desks, people holding meetings, like conferences.
And could you understand what they were saying? How did you report that information back?
No, I think I would just repeat whatever I heard. I'd just sit there and they'd say it and I'd repeat it, and whoever was with me, and this is where things start to get fuzzy, because I think when I was seeing that, I was with somebody else and I was under hypnosis and they were writing down everything I was saying. So I didn't have to learn how to translate any of it. I just had to repeat what I heard correctly. Physically talk, yeah. Like someone under hypnosis. I would sit there and just talk about what I was seeing, and I could do it physically.
And you could understand what that was, or?
No, I don't think I needed to. I just think I needed to be able to pronounce it correctly, get the words correct, what they were saying.
And I assume that you must have met remote viewer guardians out there protecting those meetings. Did you encounter anybody like that?
I've seen, at least on that level, because to me it seems like a very thin level. Like you have astral stuff and you have what people talk about metaphysically, but the military has a very thin layer on that that's just between here and there, and that's where we did most of our work. And a lot of other astral type beings or guardians and things like that were always above that. So it's
did you detect them, see them?
Yeah, I could see them, but at that time when I was working, it didn't seem like it was anything, so I just learned to ignore them because I had to focus on what was happening.
Is that something you encountered when you were a child, so it didn't mean anything?
Yeah, I things I've seen my entire life. So.
And to somebody who hasn't experienced that, can you describe very briefly what those creatures are, or what those beings are? Or?
They looked varied all the time. They
Colors?
would have different types of like facial features or energetic structures. They just look like energy to me. Like if someone decided to create something out of energy and give it a form and it just walked around, and that's how I perceived them. And now that I look back, sometimes they look like what people would call ETs, sometimes they look like what people would call angels, and they're all just kind of hanging out together in the same area. Like there's all energy. And sometimes I would see like things that look like old Native American spirits because I lived near Native American land, or just floating blobs of energy sometimes.
And would they ever notice you or pay any attention to you?
Oh yeah, they'd see me.
And would you talk to them or engage with them?
At the time, no. When I joined the military, I kind of just was like, oh, I'm just going to forget all that. Like, nope, not even going to deal with it. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Now, did the military say that? Or was it something that you surmised yourself?
Well, I thought I was just like, oh, I'm going crazy. I'm just going to forget all this. But I don't know. Maybe the military was like, no, you're just going to forget all that too and just work for us. It's kind of where I'm thinking that's coming from. And like I said, I don't know. I don't have any concrete. All these memories came back only 2 years ago, and I think it's the degradation of the chemicals they gave me. I think it's like a 10 or 12 year time frame window when all of that starts to wear off. And if I don't get re-injected, yeah, I'm going to start remembering things.
Anything you can remember about those injections?
Normal vaccines, just.
But you got normal vaccines, but whatever the troops got was different.
Yes, and that's usually extra. Like they're like, oh, you forgot to get such and such, but you're like, no, I took that one. Like, no, you're going to go get another one, and that's kind of how that worked. And actually, I was given less vaccines than the rest of the people I knew.
And that was to help you locate those soldiers. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like when you have a medical examination of your intestines. They give you a barium meal, so it shows up as a radioactive.
Right. From what I understand is that they would take infantry, they would give them extra vaccines, it would go into the cerebral spinal fluid, and of course that goes through your nervous system, through your spinal cord, through your brain, and they would actually light up stronger than normal soldiers. And I could go, okay, I can see that guy. And then I would know that that person could hear me, because I would start giving them information about this battlefield that I was remote viewing, and then they would hopefully intuitively know not to turn a certain way. And I've actually ran into other military people that said that they would do that. They were like, no, I just knew that there were people. And I was like, whoa, you knew that? They're like, yeah. And I go, I bet like the people that I worked with were doing that for you, like giving those intuitions. So I kind of got
You were actually assisting them effectively.
Changing battlefield tactics. I think it was like a new way to fight. And it was a one-up against everybody else. Because
you could remote view, you could actually see the situation above. It's like a different form of military reconnaissance.
Right. Without a plane being there, without satellites, it was.
So you'd then be able to see something coming around the corner or over the hill and say, enemy.
Yep.
So effectively, that would seem that you were being used to make non-psychic soldiers psychic.
Yes.
Effectively.
Yeah. Or very lucky. They'd be called really super lucky people. Well, it's probably us telling you need to go not there.
And the various injections that they got would mean that they would be able to listen to you, and without them being told. So those soldiers wouldn't have been told that they're going to be remotely controlled or remotely advised.
Right. They would have no idea. They would just have probably recycled memories of just sitting somewhere waiting, and then that would be it. But in the meanwhile,
I'd had a lucky day.
Yeah, I'd be there going, okay, you're going to go do this, this, and this.
Were you part of a team?
I was going to be. I think I didn't reach that point yet, and like I said, I started to really kind of lose grip on things, and everyone's like, oh, it's the stress, you can't handle the stress. And I'm like, no, I'm losing my memory. I don't remember yesterday. I don't remember the day before yesterday.
And that got you pissed off?
That got me worried. Like, I was very just anxious all the time because I was split. Like, I feel like I had a split personality. One side of me was trained, and the other side of me was not. And I was like two people flipping back and forth going, wait, what am I doing here? Like, I knew I was in the military, but it always seemed like, yeah, right, like, why am I in the military? I don't understand.
Because you wouldn't feel you'd done anything that day.
Yeah, I just feel like I'd be like, I didn't do that. That wasn't me. And they're like, no, you did. You just ran 10 miles. And I'm like, no, I don't think I did, but okay, I can't run. What are you guys talking about? Like, it was, and that just, I couldn't do it. So they kind of, I think, wrote me off as, you're malfunctioned. You couldn't handle it. We'll just let you go. I got instant disability. I got instant, like, I got out so fast that even the admin guys were like, we don't understand how you got out so fast. They just totally was like, okay, you can just go. Like, go ahead, you can leave now.
Would that imply that then you're still operating then?
No, I was considered kind of put aside, and I was supposedly, I guess, still supposed to be like really crazy because after a little while, I just started like not being able to function in day-to-day things.
And like, how would that manifest itself? You couldn't remember what you were doing?
I just couldn't remember things. Didn't care. Like, I was like, oh, I have bills to pay, whatever. Like, okay, I guess I can get around to doing that. I'd go through bouts of depression where I just didn't want to do anything. And then I'd come out of it and go, no, wait, what am I doing? Like, I need to fight this and, like, continue on with my life. And then I've had some really, the last 2 years, like I said, is just when all my memories started coming back.
So let's start at those memories.
The couple that I remember are, I would have dreams of being in the military, and this is during my time in, and it would be like playing a video game almost, but I was a guy, and I had all full military gear on. I had a weapon, I had night vision goggles, and I was with a group of like 2 or 3 other guys, and it was, we had to go infiltrate.
You're saying you're a bloke?
Yeah, I knew, but I was kind of like, well, it's a dream. Well, maybe it's just like a video game, or reading a story, and that's fine. But I would go sneak in, and I would kill people, like soldiers or whatever, guards. Go grab something like a laptop computer or a case that was inside this base, and we would sneak out again, and then I would step out of the person. I'd step back and look at them, make sure they were okay. And then the whole team would leave, and then I would just shift into I'd wake up and just be like, okay, cool, I'm out of my dream, and that's something else. And I would
you would occupy a person, do the actual deed,
yeah,
and then step out of it.
And it was either, I don't know if I was actually in control, like controlling the person, because I'm pretty sure they were highly trained. They seemed like SEALs or some sort of like highly trained military person. I'm like, I'm not highly trained.
What gave you that impression?
Just the way they moved, like the way they carried themselves, the way they talked to each other. It was almost either I was watching what they were doing, so I had first-hand experience of what they were experiencing at that moment. So I don't know if it was like I was recording it, like I was sitting there understanding what they were doing so I could report back what the mission was before they even got a chance to get back to base, or if I was
just
actually
in case they didn't make it.
Yeah, and I knew exactly, for like second to second, I could trace out the pathway of what they were, where they went, what they did, where the other people went, what they were saying. And
so you could relocate to the other members of the team?
Nope, I was only with one person. It was just one, whatever that one person was, I'd go to that person.
Would it always be the same guy?
I don't know. I never thought to check. It always just seemed normal, like it seemed natural just to be there and watch, looking through his eyes.
What sort of size of teams?
Usually 4 to 6.
And this was just, I mean, for want of a better word, standard commando type espionage stuff.
If they did that, and that's the thing, is I don't know if our military does that. Like, I have no idea. But I just know what I saw.
And so what did you see?
The first part of that dream that I noticed was different was that I was looking through night vision. I dream in full color, full experience. I can go in and out. I can do whatever I want. I can lucid dream. But I was locked in, looking through night vision goggles, and I could feel the stuff on me. I could feel the weapon. I could feel the gear. I could feel the fatigues and the boots. I knew how tall I was. And I could hear the other person with me, like we were almost sharing a body. And I would just nudge them because I would know where we were going. Like, I'd already remote viewed the place. So I'd be like, no, you need to go this way. No, don't go that way. There's sensors, like, go this way. and we would sneak through like we were just, you know, cut the fences on the thing, sneak in, take out some guards. I was walking down a hallway, I grabbed a guy, and I think I ended up stabbing him or like slitting his throat and putting him aside somewhere.
Was that disturbing you?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, at the time it didn't, because to me I thought, I was like, oh, it's like a video game or a movie. Like it didn't really, when I remembered it, it disturbed me a lot. I was like crying.
You didn't get the face right up there and the guy
Yeah,
dying.
like I was completely traumatized when I remembered again. That night I was just crying and shaking and was like, I can't believe I did that to people. Like I was, it's almost like I had PTSD, like instantaneously as soon as the memories came back. Now that I think about it, I'm a little bit better and more calm, but...
Well, you were on mission.
Yeah, and
that's
I was
a
like,
trauma a lot of guys have to, a lot of soldiers have to deal with.
And we had to do it, and we ended up going to a door. I gave the guy the code, the key code, like I thought in my head, and he typed it in, got in, grabbed this thing that looked like a reinforced suitcase, like a metal suitcase, and I knew it had something in it, like a microchip or a hard drive or something. We took it and we got out of there, and as soon as they crossed that fence line, and I knew they were in the clear, I left, I stepped out behind them, watched them walk away, and then came back to my body.
So you'd come out of that individual's body to watch them walk away, and that was your time to go time.
That was me just saying, it was like almost like I was being called back. They're like, okay, you can come back now. And then I just fall back in my body. And it'd be like that sensation when you wake up and you're like, feel like you just fell. It'd be like that.
Have you ever met any of the men that you were in?
No. And I don't think I will, because I think they're still in. I mean, those people were so highly trained that I don't think they're going to be let go. Like, to me, there's just something about them that was
So they
different.
would know that they'd be they would then be trained, so they would be aware they'd get a lock in.
I think so. I think they were aware of what they were, because to me, at least from what I remember, and the short stories I've written just to try to get through this, it was a team. So I think I've met him before. I just don't remember.
And he wouldn't be aware necessarily, or would he be made aware this is the person who you might...
Maybe. We used to call that Project Gemini, because it was two people always working in tandem. It's like whoever you could sync up with the most, like either is it a brainwave thing or a chemical thing, somehow they would pair us together, and it'd be a remote viewer and a soldier, a remote viewer and a soldier. And like I said, I don't think these were normal. I don't think these were normal run-of-the-mill military.
So how was your brainwaves psyched up with their brainwaves? Were you involved with any tests? Can you remember?
Probably. I don't remember. Like, I don't have access to any of that. I want to remember so bad, and I don't know.
Now, you've written stuff down. Have you written that up or typed it up or?
I have, but more as like a sci-fi story, because I'm trying to figure out ways to get around that block of don't talk about it, because I remember being drugged, and my hypnotic suggestion was, you will not speak of this ever. When you speak of it, you will get violently ill. And the more I talk about it, the more I've kind of gotten over it. But even now, I still feel nauseous. I feel shaky. I feel like I just want to like run away. Like I'm starting to feel anxiety, but I can kind of endure it to be able to speak about it. And I've been practicing that for the last year, like trying to talk to people. And I've run into others that have had the same thing happen to them. I actually ran into a guy from the Air Force that lived here in Phoenix. And he said he would have moments where they'd tell him to get ready, get in his gear, go wait in a hangar. And he said, and then his entire memories are sitting in a hangar for 12 hours. And I was like, no, you're being used. And he's like, and then he would just start shaking. Like he started having the same effect I was when I started talking about it. And I started to try to deactivate, because I can see the military program in people. So I started deactivating his connection.
Okay, how do you see that? What's involved with seeing the military program in people?
It's like I close my eyes and it looks like an overlay. I can look at a body. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're gonna get into all this, I guess.
Yeah, take it easy. Fine.
It's okay. I can do it. It's like opening another sense, but at the same time, I feel like I have I have an implant that I can use. I have 2 implants actually, and what they do is they create.
Are they metal implants? What are they?
Yeah. Okay. I'll explain the implants, I guess. The implants they look like a set of brain cells, I guess. It's a microchip on one side that has fiber optic fibers that come down and act as dendrites to interact with my brain. And they project a holographic image in my head that I can use.
Is this a bit like the visor?
It is.
Virtual image that people would see when they put a visor down?
Yeah, and it's kind of like that, but I see it inside my mind. Yeah. And I can get it really clearly, and I can start picking it out. So what I do is I close my eyes, and I can actually pick up people around me, and then I just do like I just tell myself, I'm like, scan for implants, scan for those that are active or inactive, and I can see like people show up like little red dots, and I go, okay, that person's active, that person's transmitting, that those people are not, and if I can see it.
So those people would then have to have implants as well?
Probably, yeah. I'm not surprised. Like some people just have transmitters. Like they're in the military, they just transmit information back and forth as they move from base to base. And I was like, this sounds to me, see, now as I talk about it, I go, this is crazy. Like, and that's my programming, is the hypnosis. Is like,
so
don't talk about it.
You have two of them?
I have two of them. I have one on each back side of my head, just underneath that bridge of bone.
That's basically where the skull joins
the spinal cord, yeah.
Yeah. And do you have scars there? Is there any?
No, but I've had extremely like pinpoint headaches there, and.
You mentioned in brief conversation that they were alien technology.
I thought they were probably alien technology, because when I got let go and all my memories back, the ETs that I'm in contact with were like, no, you can still use those. We're just going to upgrade them, and you go ahead and keep using them. You have access to their network. Like, you can get on there. I can pull up files from people sometimes, and I can be like, oh yeah, this is what you did. Like it's almost like I could just now remotely go, no, this is who you are. I have a small little bio about who you are and what you do, and this is what you did. And I keep trying to find confirmation for that, because I don't know any difference, because I don't know anybody that knows about this. And the only kind of confirmation I've gotten is the military people that I've met, that I've cleared. And I'll usually, because I feel like it, I'll copy their information. I'll be like, what's your information? I'm going to copy your program. And one of the girls I knew, I was like, hey, why am I getting missile specs? Like, I see like missile flight patterns. She's like, oh, I was a missile tech. And I didn't know that about her at all. And I was like, oh, well, I just got that from your military implant. And I copy it down to mine, and then I disable hers. And so I've done that to infantry people, and I've done that to...
And how would you print it out, so to speak?
I don't know. I think that'd be done under hypnosis. It's all like an oral, vocal... Then you write reports down. In
other words, there's no point gaining the data if you can't make a hard copy somehow, or some other person look at that.
And that was usually, once again, this is in theory, a handler. I had a handler.
And let's forget the ET side. We'll go back to that.
We'll go back to the ETs in a second. My handler would be the person that it was like a good cop, bad cop. I would be under duress or under some sort of interrogation, and they would come in and say, oh, I'll work with you and things will be okay. And then I started to trust them. And I'm like, okay, good. Well, you're like the good guy, so I'll trust you. And then that's how they kind of locked that in for going under hypnosis, usually usually injected by something. And then I would just report to them, and they would just write everything down. So I never learned to really write everything I see down, because I'm used to just being able to sit there and talk about it and have somebody else record it. Like, they'd write notes, and they'd have a tape recorder, and they would...
But, I mean, there's a lot of data there. Surely there's got to be a printout mechanism of dumping that data to somebody.
If there was, and if I take this as like an internet kind of thing, like, I would almost say, if I was going to do it, or from what I know, is that anyone that's in a coma is a perfect vehicle for storing information, because they're not awake and using their brain. So you can use dump centers and just dump a bunch of information, and other people can pick it up.
Oh, to somebody else?
Yeah, anybody that was in a coma, you could probably just dump information into them. And
essentially, I mean, did you just suffer from lack of sleep? I mean, if you're up all night doing things and then wake up, you never got enough sleep.
No, I didn't. I never felt like I was rested, ever. I never felt like I was...
So they must have known that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
So really, they realized you get so much out of somebody, and then...
Yeah, and I think they were hoping that I could get through all of it, and then once I got out of my school, I wasn't even going to do the normal school thing. They were going to pull me out, send me to SEER school, and then send me to what I thought was a super soldier program. But I just never got that far.
What's SEER school? What are the three schools? The school.
SEER school is for people who become POWs, like to teach you how to withstand torture and things like that. And then after that, it was kind of like, in theory, I was like, that's where I was going to go work with. I was going to go work with these people that were genetically modified and learn how to link up with them or do something with them.
But what kind of genetic modification?
I don't know. I just know that they were different. They're not normal.
In which school?
And it was a super soldier program. I don't know what it was. I think I was going to be completely brought out of the military at that point and put somewhere else. But like I said, it's all in theory because I got out. And
so what do you know of the super soldier program?
That people who are aware enough to remote view could, on a direct conscious link, be able to communicate with them. And between them being physically almost perfect and then having someone who was literally floating around them that could just see everything, going, hey, you need to go this way and go this way, they would be unstoppable. Like, that's what they were trying for. So instead of trying to make your super soldier psychic, you just had a psychic that could link up with them.
So the super soldier was the one with physical strength and who got shot at.
Yep. That's what I think. I think they're the ones that were faster, stronger, better,
so therefore they would have had some kind of enhanced implants to deal with you directly? Right.
Somehow they'd have some sort of enhanced brain function to be able to interact with those of us that were on the other side.
What kind of, were there different versions of them on the basis of logical military infantry use?
Yes. They had to start to try to integrate them into normal military to see if people could tell the difference, because they didn't act right, they didn't act normal. Like that guy that nobody kind of is like, I don't know, he's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, if you isolate anybody, somebody sits, the normal human interaction can therefore lead to breakdown of the being because they're not wanted, they're not loved.
Yeah.
That kind of simple.
So they had to learn how to be a part of the group, but still be exceptional. So.
Was there any physical attributes you could tell?
Usually a little bit taller, able to gain muscle mass faster. Super quick reflexes, and then I don't know. I don't even know if I've probably met some, but once again, like I said, I got out so quick that.
When you say quick, 18 months, 2 years?
I went in January of 2000, and I was out March 2001, just before that whole 9/11 thing. March, April, May is when my discharge happened, right in there. So yeah, it was very quick.
And so it's quite a long time ago, 10 years, 12
10
years,
and
11 years.
That's why I think all those chemicals are starting to degrade down, and I can start remembering now.
What brought you to a bunch of wackos at a UFO conference?
Oh, I got contacted and was allowed to remember.
Who?
Well, they were just a bunch of ETs. I didn't even ask their names. I was so surprised.
Okay, let's talk about the ETs.
Talk about ETs.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk ET time.
Let's see. So I was contacted. They pretty much walked into my room and said, "Hi, you need to wake up now and start remembering."
Did they walk through the wall, or
yeah, they
just
walked
use
through the wall.
normal? They didn't use the door.
No, they just walked through the wall. And then I was kind of sitting there, and all I could tell them was, "Why am I not freaking out right now? Why am I not scared of you?" And they're like, "We've done this hundreds of times before, and we're letting you remember this one. But we just had to tell you,
and
you
what
need to
were
start."
they? Did they have long reptilian tails with big bug eyes and
they were
television
tall.
arrows out of their head?
They had bigger eyes, they pale skin, kind of longer arms, longer fingers.
Were they naked?
No, they were wearing a robe. They were really peaceful. They just kind of were just hey, I was like, "No, you guys, you're ETs." They're like, "Yeah, we know. It's cool." I was like, "Okay, fine."
Any other descriptions, like symbols or?
Pale skin. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I do. I write a lot. I have symbols, things like that. I write an entire glyph language. I draw them. I speak in weird languages. So.
Do any language now?
Yeah, I kind of have what I thought was some language I made up as a kid, but I can still speak it now and hold conversations with ETs with it. And
can you order a burger in alien language?
Order a burger?
Well,
order some food. How would you say that in it's all about conceptual stuff. So let's see if I can do it. I'm hungry and I would like that food. That's how they kind of talk. They don't.
Could you give any other sentences?
Yeah, I could sit here and talk all day about stuff in another language.
Could you, for instance, give us a couple of phrases which would appeal to any maybe for the sake of argument, you've got some watching this now, Is there any way that you could sort of say a message to them which would allow them to contact me or somebody which would be able to continue the story?
I'm sorry, I'm thinking right now to see what it is that might be good, because it's also an activation. When I talk to people, I've had people come to me like, oh, I've heard that before and stuff. And sure, they're always good messages, like don't be afraid, things like that. Asiatan tira nila ke yafe etia se miakad. Inan esishiata akia se ina hata tayarania etla niasia tiafi ata kienan. Una sa iata irania la hiatia ke ina sa ifi tiatan tia akatnas itat as ikatat. Inan tira ilana se ifi maha hata ke. Oso do shirani dikan te sialane hefianan ita dekria ese inakatiata she ina usu tiranala sieta afiana.
And by the way, my name is Miles.
Ita.
I don't know what you said there.
Itasa. Yeah. It's just something I've done since I was a kid, and I just started trusting myself just to do it again. And from what I've been told, it's a way to get around the mind from trying to pick stuff apart. So it goes directly to you subconsciously as a message that will affect you in a way that you don't have to pick it apart. You just trust that you understand what's going on. And that's how I've kind of almost meditated about it, just being able to hear myself speak it and then trust that I got the message that I needed. Then I started learning how to translate it little by little and learning how to do that. And that's been an adventure, and I'm still doing it, learning how to translate what I said and things like that.
So it's good fun.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's always, like, I think it's exciting. I want spaceships, I want lightsabers, I want to be able to do things.
So what about the spaceships?
Oh, there's lots of those, and they're different. They're not just...
Orgon destructor fleet stuff, or what?
No.
Tell us about the spaceships.
From what I understand is that ships are just vehicles. Like, it's like, hey, you know, someone's Ford is parked outside. Well, their ships are parking out there. There's no desire to destroy this place. There's no war. I mean, there's a war going on, but not even near this galaxy, so that doesn't matter. Like, this is all about consciousness and evolution and taking this project that was Earth and watching it and, like, nurturing it to grow. Now, mind you, there's that other side of it where someone's like, hey, that's really easy to control, let's go take that over. So you're always going to have that kind of conflict, but you need that conflict to grow. So
what's involved there? Well, let's concentrate on the spaceships.
Okay.
Are they spaceships, or are they some kind of interdimensional vehicle, or...
Yes, and yes.
Or are there different versions, go to the bigger ones, they have a different function?
And everything I've heard, everyone's like, oh, it's this, or no, it's this. I'm like, no, it's all of it. Yes, you are correct on all scopes of it. How do you comprehend what it is? Well, we have to put things into symbols. So yes, it's an energetic construct. Yes, it's multidimensional. Yes, it is like a spaceship because you can walk around on it physically. But it's also energetic, but it's also in 2 dimensions at once, and it can shrink down through portals and things like that and distort space and time. So we just have no concept of that in our reality right now because we can't do it. Maybe, but
what's the maybe? You're talking about? We're talking reverse engineering saucers in Area 51, that kind of thing.
The whole space-time thing, I know somehow we've messed with that already, and we've shifted through our timelines here. And
can you go further on that?
Thanks. No, not really. It's one of those, I just have a vague idea that I'm pretty sure we've done that already here. So
what? Just to get the types of ETs, you know, can you name them? Do they have type names? Do the types of ETs that you're experienced with have any relationship to do or any likeness to any of the ones that we're told in the so-called media?
Oh yeah, and then some. Like, that's only a brief smidgen of races that are out there, and there are other human planets out there, a lot of them actually, that are humans like us, and they're integrated just fine, like working with other types of ETs and things like that. So,
is there any sense of location? I mean, when we talk about the universe, we've got a very distorted view of it because of what we're looking at.
Well, when you look at the stars, of course, those are entire systems. But instead of maybe one planet being there, could be 2 or 3 inhabitable planets there. And then, so of course, we've named them like Arcturus and Sirius and Orion and all that. And yeah, those all inhabit entire sets of planets, systems that inhabit people and beings, I guess.
So, how do we get there? How does that jump happen?
Through the sun.
Okay.
The sun, all the stars are connected as like giant gateways, and they somehow use those. Once again, now I'm like, I don't know, stuff I kind of know. Like,
yeah.
I don't read about this stuff. It's just I kind of go into a knowing and go, okay, I'm just going to trust that I know that. If it's real or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's true, I don't care. I'm happier, so I'm here on this planet doing the things here that I need to do. And so I tend not to look that far out again because I feel like I'm from there and I'm working here.
Yeah, I mean, the way you said that makes you feel you're not from here, you're from somewhere.
I've always
so where is there?
I'm from the Syrian system. That's where I'm from. I agreed to come here to help people out and to help with consciousness. And I've gone through, I mean, even with the military thing, I've gone through the darkest parts of like the human psyche. I've gone through all of those things that are considered mental illnesses and found my way back out again.
So that means the military must have known pretty well from day one you were...
They knew I was something. My mom was actually drugged for a week before I was born. I was born 2 months early.
With what kind of drugs, do you know?
I have no idea. She doesn't either. Nobody saw her. I was born at Stanford University, so I'm like, great, a university hospital. And they actually flighted her out there because where I was could have been born, they had no way to take care of premature babies, and so I always thought that was very strange that I had these researchers and stuff. Like, that's where I was born, in a hospital, like with researchers. And my grandmother said she got really upset because they kept sticking needles in me, and they like were taking samples from me and things like that. And I was like, oh, why didn't you tell me this ever? She's like, I don't know. It's just I never thought to bring it up. Because I asked her, I was like, hey, was there anything strange about, when I was born? And she was like, oh, yeah,
well,
by the way.
That happens a lot to babies, and unfortunately, we're never too sure what they're really doing.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I actually have, because I have neck problems too, I actually had a perfectly round birthmark on the back of my neck where my spine joins my back. And I was like, what's that from? Well, I have no idea.
Is it a mole or something?
No, it's just a perfectly round, raised red mark that was there. And
the size of a quarter?
Yeah, about the
or
size
5 cents? Or what do you,
about the size of a quarter. And then it's just kind of disappeared over the years.
That's when you were a child, so that was fairly large to be in a baby's.
Oh, it's probably like, size of like a dime or a quarter, like a nickel maybe, or a quarter. I just remember it always being there, so I was like, okay. But even then, even when I was little, my mom said she would see stuff. She'd wake up in the middle of the night and see things standing over my crib, and she'd turn on lights, and there'd be nothing there. And
what sort of lights? Sort of orbs and things?
No, she'd see she said it looked like a person standing there, and she'd always thought it was my grandmother or something, or like maybe someone walked in, but it was like a humanoid being, like standing over me. And she'd be kind of freaked out and turn on the light, and there'd be nobody there. So. What
about your family? Do you have a history? Grandparents? Do you have twins or anything like that?
I don't know. My great grandparents used to be exorcists. My mom and my sister are both like psychic. They've like always been aware of stuff. My father was abducted when he was younger a few times.
What about his abduction?
All I know is from what I told him, because we only got to talk briefly, I don't really know him that well. He said that it would be the kind where he would get in trouble because he'd be asleep on the lawn. And they're like, why didn't you come home last night? He's like, no, I was asleep on the lawn, and he couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, he knew he got picked up, and they just sent him back down in his front yard.
So this is long before you were born?
Oh, yeah. This is when he was like 11, 12, 13. Yep.
And did he describe any sort of ETs?
No, I haven't actually got a chance to ask him or talk to him about it. And his memory's not that great right now either, because he suffered a stroke when he was 40, and he's just been...
Was this when you were in the army?
No, this was afterwards. Well, I don't know. I'd have to ask him. I don't know.
It would seem, it wouldn't be a surprise if he had a stroke either just after you left or...
Yeah, I'd have to find out.
Yeah, that might be a form of retribution. I could be completely wrong.
It's something to ask. I just never thought about it. it's these kind of things I'm looking for, like coincidences where like stuff starts to go, wait a second, this all happened at the same time.
What other kind of people have you met? Other people in the 9 odd years, 10 years that since you've left the army and things? Have you met anybody else who is in the same boat? Are you on a mission to beat others?
I run into people that are just coming into like an awareness that there's something not right, and then they start going, oh, I start astral projecting, I start remote viewing, and I've met a ton of people that are doing this.
Are you perhaps still under observation from the military?
I know I get remote viewed, and I can feel them because it feels like they're watching me.
They're just having a checkup, seeing how you're doing?
Yeah, and I don't even think they know it's who they're looking at, because I might just be a target number. And then I'll just sit there and write them notes and stuff on my, like usually because I'm drawing, because I'm an artist, I'll just write them notes in big letters. I'm like, I know you guys can read this. And one time I actually got so upset because they kept bothering me. I finally sat in meditation and I remote viewed back to the remote viewer.
Oh, they don't like that.
They don't, and so I followed them back, and I actually saw somebody. That's funny. I totally just remembered this. I saw somebody laying in a tank, which like maybe like a SenStep tank, where they're floating in it. They were under hypnosis. There was a guy sitting next to him with a computer and a tape recording thing, and he was writing down what the guy was saying. And the guy was talking about me. And so I literally was like standing on top of the floating guy and go, okay, you're going to repeat after me. Hi, this is my name, this is my rank, this is my authorization number. You guys need to leave me alone. And as soon as I said it and he repeated those words, I saw people run in, drag the guy out of the water, inject him with adrenaline. Like, the other guy was like on the phone going like, holy crap. And I was sitting there like cracking up, and I was like, oh, guys, you got to leave me alone. Like, if you want to play, like, call me. Like, you have my cell phone number. Just
yeah, I think that could be.
Like, call me. I'm like,
I mean, I think there's a basic protocol that they start overusing their systems. It's a bit.
Yeah.
It's a bit like if you want to open the door. You don't blow it open with with a nuclear missile. You sort of use the doorknob and open it.
Yeah.
That kind of.
So yeah, I freaked him out, which is cool. Like, I don't know. I think it's hysterical, but.
What was the type of person he was in the water chamber?
That was just a normal guy. It looked like just.
He wasn't a child.
Probably no. It was just probably like in their 20s. Probably could do what I could do, and I was like, wow, you guys get water tanks? Like, I was sitting in a chair. Like, that's cool. Like, what is...
Yeah, they used the water tanks in Belfast.
You guys are upgraded.
Yeah.
So I was like,
but that's
okay.
not good for your skin. It's not good. No.
Yeah. Well, usually I think they're floating in water and, like, salt, I think. Like, so it's buoyant. And, actually, it's a lot like the float tanks that people do, the Epsom salt tanks. It's like that. Because I did that once, and I started having flashbacks, I think. So I was like, whoa, can't...
So rather than being a relaxing experience, it was
relaxing. I just kept going out of my body, so I didn't really get to relax because I was never there. I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be here relaxing.
Tell us more about the ETs. Any characters? What's it like to be with them? Do you sit down with them metaphorically?
They're funny. At least the guys I work with, they take on my sense of humor, because everything that I experience here, I can relay back to them since we're telepathic. So they make a lot of pop culture references just because I think it's pretty hysterical, like, and it relates to me better, like, because they want to try to relate to my experience down here. But I've even had they're like, hey, how you doing down there? Like, you doing okay? Like, how are you holding up? And
what are you talking to, greys or reps?
All of them. Greys. There's some reptilians. I see ones that look like hybrids, some that look like humans, some that have cat faces, some that the ones that I like working with are like super tall, like 8 feet tall, have really pale skin, bigger eyes, and they're usually different colors. They're not black. Everyone thinks they have everything black eyes. They don't. They have like blue eyes and green eyes and stuff.
And what kind of eye structure?
Anywhere from ours, where we have the irises, to it almost looks like irises, but they bleed out. Like they're just all color, all the way through. And yeah, they're really super tall. And they're really scholarly, I guess, and scientific. I've seen ones that are doctors, like medical doctors physically, and I've seen psychic doctors. And I know
they walk around with a stethoscope, do they?
No, they have these scanners. It's very like Star Trek-y, actually. They just like scan people with these like things and can go, oh, it's a readout, okay, like you have this wrong with you. And the psychic doctors just come in. They generally have big giant crystals in their head or something, and they just use their hands, and they're like, hey, because I've astral projected to ships. They're like, who are you? And I'm like, whoa, hey, what's up? They're like, what are you doing here? Like, go back to your body, go. I'm like, okay. Sorry.
So what about the everyday life of being on a ET, or what do they do?
They don't...
I mean, when they're not taking...
There's not really like a time thing. They're kind of outside of it. Like, they don't have days and stuff, but they could be doing anything. They could be researching, they could be typing up, like, I guess typing stuff or whatever. Flying.
I mean, like a keyboard thing? Or?
No, it's all telepathic. A lot of their ships are all telepathically driven and used, and I don't know, they hang out. They have gardens and stuff on their ships.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
And, like,
how do the ETs hang out?
Yeah.
What do they use for entertainment? Do they listen to music, or do they have a religious, philosophical life?
I don't know. Honestly, like, I don't... Like I said, it's kind of a brief, all these brief flashes. Like, they eat, they have cafeterias and stuff, and they all sit together, and I've talked to other people who are from here. Like, we've all, like, sat in a giant cafeteria, do a lot of training simulations, kind of like the holodeck thing, where they'll pick me up and they'll put me in a scenario, like a story, drop me in and see how I react, just to see what my choices are. And
this is the ET?
Yeah, the ETs.
And this is on one of the craft?
Yeah, it's on one of the craft, because I've walked out of one of those. I told this guy to move out of the way in my dream, and I pushed the wall open and walked out into a hallway, and it was like a metal hallway on a craft. And they're just like, well, that's never happened before. And I'm like, well, what are you dealing with? I was like, come on, guys. Like, I read sci-fi for a living. Like, I know how this works. And so my job now, I think, is just to try to constantly surprise them about my agility. Like, it's like mental agility.
You're talking about the ETs.
Yeah, the ETs.
And
like,
which ETs are you talking about?
Oh, I don't know, just a group. I usually work with Ashtar Command and, like, the whole Galactic Federation thing, because it's a whole bunch of different ETs that all work together, like, trying to help out.
And is it called that? What's it actually called? Because these are sort of terms which I would say are a bit naff from the 1950s.
They are, and it's really, I don't know what they call themselves. They're kind of like, that's the title you want to give us? Okay, like, cool. We don't mind. Like, call us whatever you want. Like, it doesn't matter. We're still a united force of, like, a federation or a united force of beings that are working for a common goal.
Have you ever heard of a race or a type of being called the Valon?
I'm horrible with names anyway.
Yeah.
More visual. Like, if you describe what they look like, then I can be like, yeah, I've seen those guys.
Now, you said they were, just briefly, good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
What's involved there? We've got about 10 minutes.
What's involved with the good or bad?
I mean, if there is a good and bad, you said that there was the war, whatever.
And
is there anything we should be worried about or know about?
No, it's all story. It's like, that's one version of it, but we're not really involved with the good or bad. I mean, besides the whole, like, you know, keeping people in the dark thing here. That's really what it is. It's not about, like, atrocities. It's about ignorance and ignoring things and being asleep and just being a zombie kind of thing and being a robot, or taking control of your life and actually living here and doing what you need to do. So you don't need to go save anybody. We don't need to go do anything like that. At least from my job is to be here and to interact with people, to be happy. Like, be happy, people. That's it. Like, that's really the whole point.
That seems pretty cool.
Because it's a consciousness thing. This war is consciousness. It's not a galactic war. It's not spaceships firing things at each other. It's a war of consciousness. You're either going to be trapped and imprisoned and asleep, and that energy then, like, kind of, I guess, fueling, like, something, or you can just wake up and, you know, get with the picture and, like, join and expand and do what you need to do.
What's the best way to get people to wake up?
Ignite the curiosity. Ignite curiosity. It's when you start questioning things. When you start looking for yourself, that's when people start to wake up. You have to just ignite that curiosity in someone. And it could just be a passing comment, because I know people that are like, oh, UFOs, that's a bunch of crap, you people are crazy. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I've met them. And they're like, wait, what? Oh, can that happen? And all of a sudden it's that little spark of, like, well, maybe, and then it goes, well, maybe I'll look into it more, well, maybe I'll accept it, well, maybe then I'll actually see something, because I'm more willing to see it. But most people are like, nope, it's weird, I forget, I'm not looking at it. I don't want to. Nope, didn't happen. Like, people have had strange things happen to them, and they immediately are like, no, nothing happened. Yeah. So it's turning that away. Like, stop being afraid of things, stop forgetting things on purpose and just accept it and be like, okay, cool, like, it's true. That's why people are like, well, is this true, or is that, I'm like, it's all true. Why not? Why not have it all true? Why does someone have to be right and someone have to be wrong? All of it's true. Yes. Just say yes to stuff.
You like motorbikes. Tell us all about who you are when you're here in this reality.
I am a graphic designer. I'm a biker. I love riding motorcycles. I think it's the closest thing to flying I can get right now because it's just so amazingly fun. So fun and very freeing and very zen. I love creating things. I love drawing and writing. I don't know. I kind of been wanting to get into executive protection, like, and start doing, like, actually being trained to be a bodyguard again. So I'm, like, wondering why I'm feeling that pull, but I think it's just I want to start doing that again because I've.
Do you think the executive corporate America is involved with all this? I mean, it would be
I'm pretty sure somewhere.
Yeah.
And if they're not, then
they need to.
There's a middle ground somewhere where someone's just like the middleman and they don't know what they're doing. They're not knowing where their money's going or anything. So.
Well, I think good business always cuts out the middleman.
Yeah.
So you got a Triumph motorcycle?
Yep.
Good British make, made in Hong Kong, Japan, and Taiwan, probably.
It's an awesome bike. I love it.
And what's the style of the bike? What's the main thing you really like about it?
It's because it has no windshield and it has no fairings on the side, and I can go really fast on it, but I can go really long distances too. So 13 hours, not a problem. A couple hours up in the hills, not a problem.
So you're not vibrating and shaking like
no, it's fun. It's good made.
And you break out a few beers or whatever with friends?
I don't drink that much. I'm allergic to a lot of stuff now. I've become super allergic to a lot of food.
Is that because a lot of our food's got nasty stuff in it?
Oh, yeah. Probably the whole genetically modified food and stuff. And I'm pretty sure they want to just take us down, or the pharmaceutical companies just want to make money off us somehow. I don't know.
Surely that's something that we should wake up to and stop.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that...
what do the ETs feel about that?
Well, if it keeps going, we're just going to starve ourselves and just, it's not good. They're like, no, we need to learn how to grow our own food or, stop eating genetically modified chemical foods. The chemicals are just, they're like, don't do it. Every time I reach for a bag of chips, I distinctly get, don't eat that. Stop eating that crap.
But then, for the ordinary person in our final moments, how do we overcome that? This clearly would seem to be an attack on us from a terrestrial enemy.
How do you change anything?
Logically speaking.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'd love to use logic, but it's mass population sometimes doesn't. People just don't care. They're just like, oh, just gonna do what we need to do, and it's eat natural foods. So.
Is there anything you would like to say in just in a few moments, in a few phrases? How would you get people to wake up?
Don't forget to help yourself in a way that makes you stronger as a person, because any time that you forgive somebody in your life, any time that you forgive yourself for something that you've done, every time that you let something in the past go, you're helping people on a mass consciousness scale, because you're showing them that they can let go, that they don't have to be afraid, they don't have to be haunted by their past. And once you can show someone no, you know what, because I've had a lot of really crappy things happen to me, even outside of the military, and I've forgiven those people. And as soon as I do that, I'm free to be happy now. And that's the way to do it. Forgive. People want to hold grudges, you're going to be trapped. You're creating your own prison. And don't do that. And as soon as you can forgive somebody else, they have the opportunity to forgive themselves. And it's a chain reaction. And hopefully we can get that chain reaction to continue to move on throughout everybody that we meet and everybody that we come in contact with. And let people be themselves. For the love, do not judge anyone else. That's the greatest gift you can give anybody, is just let someone be who they are. And enjoy it. Just be awesome.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And blessings.